Hey, Calvin here, and the last several videos that I've posted to this channel have been exclusively shot on iPhone. Now, for the longest time, I was working with a camera that was quite old. It was an old Panasonic camcorder, and at the time that I got the camera, I also had an iPhone 6, which had also an incredible camera. However, I never took advantage of the mobile capabilities of these little devices that we had in our pocket until very, very recently, when I switched over to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So in this video, I want to share my mobile filmmaking setup, and that's going to include things like the camera, obviously, lights, sound, and some of the accessories that I put into creating this setup. So, big disclaimer, I am not a professional videographer. I am just some guy making videos on YouTube and just trying to improve and learn more about the craft in general. Now, I will say that this setup is not bare bones, so it's not just an iPhone. I did put some money into a lot of the accessories, especially the lighting setup and some of the audio. However, I will say that the budget for this setup is reasonable. So if you are very, very new to filmmaking, obviously you can use your smartphone, and if you have a little bit of budget, you can also add on some accessories to improve things like your audio quality as well as your light setup. So for the purposes of this video, this is not a bare bones setup, but there is some additional stuff that I put into this whole setup that I think just improves the video quality and experience overall. Okay, so to start things off, my old camera, it was a Panasonic HC V770 camcorder that I got a very, very long time ago, and I think I got it for a Christmas present. And it was a really good camera at the time. It had a fold-out screen, so I could flip the screen and use it as a viewfinder when I was setting up my shots. However, it wasn't providing the video quality that I particularly wanted. The image output from that camera wasn't really that crisp, and sometimes the light would not really make the shot look all that great, but it did its job, and it allowed me to create a lot of videos beforehand. At the end of last year, so at the time of recording this video, it is now 2023, so this is my mobile filmmaking setup for 2023. At the end of 2022, I decided to give my iPhone a shot because I knew the camera quality and the video quality on iPhones is just, it's really, really good. It's nice and crisp, but the colors are accurate, and you get just a great shot overall. So I really wanted to experiment with this mobile filmmaking setup. And so far, the last several videos that are posted onto this channel have been shot only on iPhone, and I think the video quality has turned out pretty good, if I must say so myself. Okay, so to start off, the camera itself, again, it's an iPhone 13 Pro Max, and some of the camera settings that I'm using for this setup is I just shoot on the regular camera app, and I'm actually shooting in 1080p, so I'm not even doing 4K right now. I think 1080p is a really good resolution to start off on. The file sizes are smaller, they're much easier to manage, and honestly, a lot of these videos are probably being watched on a smartphone anyway, or maybe a tablet or a laptop screen, so you really can't take advantage of that super, super big TV screen when you're shooting 4K, especially for a small YouTube channel like me. I think 1080p is more than enough, at least for now. Obviously, in the near future, I am going to experiment with 4K and just sort of see where that takes me, but for now, I'm just shooting 1080p. Now, one of the advantages that my old camcorder had was a viewfinder. So it had a flip out screen that I could turn over or twist around, and I could see myself, I could position myself. The problem with the iPhone is that it's only got one screen, and it's facing the opposite direction of which way the cameras are facing. So I learned from some YouTube video or some resource online that you could actually use your Apple Watch, if you have one, as a viewfinder. So that's how I've been setting up a lot of my shots. I will position the iPhone where I sort of think it needs to go, and then I would sit down in the frame, and I would open up my Apple Watch app, the camera app on Apple Watch, and then I would use that to sort of frame my shot. Now, this is really good for shots that you're not really moving around too much in. So I'm sitting in a stationary spot right now, and I can line up myself pretty well on just my Apple Watch screen. And for the most part, it really works well. The only thing I can't do is I can't lock the auto focus and the auto brightness just from my Apple Watch, because I need to be sitting here and I need to lock that focus and exposure on myself, on my face, but I can't do that on the Apple Watch, and that's just the one little gripe that I have with this sort of a setup. But other than that, it works really well. Now, some people might be using Apple ProRes for some of their video capture. I personally have that turned off. I don't need it yet. And I also have grid settings turned on. So with the grid, I can position a lot of the things in my frame, including myself and some of the background stuff that's behind me. Okay, so that's enough about the camera. Let's move on to lighting. Lighting, if you're into videography, is really, really important. Now, I use 3 sources of lighting for a lot of my videos. First is natural light. So I'm in my room right now and I have several windows in this room. And when it's nice and bright and sunny outside, I can use that to my advantage, position myself where I think the light hits me best, and record that way. Now, the second lighting source that I have is a little bit more expensive. I have this Falcon Eyes RX8T, and it also has an umbrella. So I just bought this cheap little umbrella off Amazon. I hooked it up to an adapter behind the light source itself, and for the most part, it provides a lot of really nice light coming at me at one direction. So it sort of gives me a little bit of a cinematic look because I have, this nice bright white light bouncing off this side of my face, and then I have a little bit of shadow on the right side of my face. Now, obviously, you don't want your lighting source to be too bright or else you're going to get an overexposed shot. So the cool thing about this RX8T is that you can adjust the brightness of the lighting from the back panel. Now, the third source of lighting is actually kind of funny. It's my ceiling fan, and if you look here, yes, that is a t-shirt over the lighting for my ceiling fan. And the reason I have this lighting is the same reason I have an umbrella in front of my main lighting source. And that is, if I did not have that t-shirt, that light would be hitting really, really harshly on my face, and you would just get these super glowy spots all over me. Now, the t-shirt itself, it simply is there to just diffuse that light and just make that light on this side of my face a lot softer, a lot more natural. So again, we're trying to keep this with budget, so use what you can. I have this old t-shirt and I just threw it over my lighting and it works just fine. Okay, on to the sound. Now, iPhones have a really good microphone. However, they don't do a really good job of picking up a more focused sound source when we're shooting in sort of this orientation and this style. So for my audio, I use a Rode Video Micro, and I have that attached to a hot shoe adapter on my mount. And then I have the wire, the audio jack from the Rode Video Micro going into a adapter splitter. So this is a TRRS to TRRS adapter. It basically just splits the audio for the mic and for your headphones into 2 separate wires. And then I have another adapter that goes from the standard audio jack adapter into a lightning connector, and that connects into my iPhone. It's kind of a lot with adapters, but hey, it's Apple. Okay, so let's move on to the accessories. So besides the lighting and some of the audio accessories I obviously have some sort of a tripod. So I need the tripod so that I can position my phone in different heights and different orientations for different shots. And I did spend a little bit of money on this tripod. It is a Geekteo tripod and it is really, really nice. So obviously you can adjust height up and down. It has this ball bearing sort of thing to hold your camera equipment, and you can adjust that however you want. And I also use a quick release plate to put onto the tripod so I can quickly take off the mount and put another mount, something basic if I need it. And for the camera mount itself, the thing that's actually holding my iPhone, this is a Ulanzi ST0 something mount. It's really nice. It's made out of all metal, so it's a little bit more durable than some of the plastic ones that I have here. And you can adjust it and open it and slide pretty much any smartphone into that area and then lock it into place. Now, the cool thing about this stand or this mount is that it has a hot shoe adapter on the top. So if you have other accessories like external lights or audio mics, you can attach those to the top of this adapter, and it just fits really well and it does the job. Okay, finally, for editing, I used to just use iMovie for a lot of my editing purposes, and that worked fine, but I needed a little bit more features and capability. So I think it was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I finally made the jump to Final Cut Pro. It was a pretty penny. However, it does have a lot of features, and full disclaimer, I am not a pro at Final Cut Pro. However, I am just learning as much as I can about it and just trying to get used to the sort of color grading and editing and audio and all those flows that are within Final Cut Pro, and just, trying to get better at the whole process. But I would say that if you are, on a budget, you don't need Final Cut Pro. In fact, you can get iMovie for iPhone and do a lot of your editing that way. And there's also a lot of other free apps that you can use if you don't like iMovie. Okay, so in conclusion, this Mobile filmmaking setup is something that I've been wanting to do for such a long time. I've really wanted to experiment with this, primarily because the cameras on mobile smartphones have become just so incredible. You can get some amazing shots on these things, and I really just wanted a more streamlined video filmmaking flow. Now, the camcorder that I had, it was good. It served its purpose, and I just felt like I needed to upgrade to sort of the next step. And obviously, I've been drooling over a lot of the Sony Alpha series cameras, and I was like, oh man, maybe one day I can get that super expensive camera. But honestly, the video quality on these iPhones are incredible. And I just figured, well, I'd rather focus on creating content, on learning just the entire craft of videography, from ideating to scripting to filming, editing, and all that fun stuff. And then in the future, if the channel and the project grows, that's great. Maybe I can upgrade from then. But for now, this iPhone setup has been really, really good. And I'm really just happy with the video quality that I'm getting from this thing in my pocket. Okay, so I will leave it at that. If you guys have any questions about this setup or just the filmmaking process in general that I go through, please leave those down in the comment section below. And I will catch you guys in the next video that's shot on iPhone. All right, peace.